The forgotten concentration camps of South Africa, Britain's hidden atrocity. They were not soldiers. They were mothers, children, farmers. But between 1899 and 1902, they were captured, starved, and left to die not by an invading enemy from afar, but by the British Empire itself. This is the forgotten story of South Africa's Boer concentration camps, the first large-scale death camps in modern history. At the end of the 19th century, the British Empire was one of the most powerful forces on Earth. But deep in southern Africa, two small republics dared to defy them, the Transvaal and the Orange Free State, home to Dutch settlers known as Boers or Afrikaners. The British wanted full control of the region not just for land, but for its gold and diamond mines, the richest in the world. And so began the Second Boer War, in October 1899. The Boers, though outnumbered, were fierce fighters, expert horsemen and marksmen. They fought using guerrilla tactics, striking British convoys and vanishing into the wild plains. The British Army, humiliated by a smaller force, decided to fight back in a way no one expected. In 1900, the British adopted the scorched earth policy. Their goal was simple: destroy everything the Boers needed to survive. Tens of thousands of farms were burned to ashes. Crops were destroyed. Livestock were slaughtered in the fields. But the British didn't stop there. They turned their attention to the families of the Boer soldiers, the women and children left behind. Under the orders of Lord Kitchener, the British began rounding up civilians and placing them in what they called refugee camps. But there was nothing safe about these camps. They were overcrowded, surrounded by barbed wire, and plagued by hunger and disease. Inside, over 120,000 Boer women and children were trapped, many without proper shelter, water, or medicine. Witnesses described the camps as fields of death. Children died by the thousands. Mothers begged for food. And British officials recorded the deaths calmly, on paper, as if it were routine. By 1902, more than 26,000 Boer women and children had died, most of them under the age of 16. But there's a darker part of this tragedy that's rarely spoken about. The British also built separate camps for black Africans, over 60 of them. More than 115,000 African men, women, and children were imprisoned there. Their conditions were even worse. They were forced to work for the British Army, building roads, cutting wood, and cleaning camps, often without pay. Records show that at least 14,000 Africans died, though historians believe the number was far higher. Yet, unlike the Boer victims, their suffering was almost completely erased from history books. The truth might have stayed buried forever, if not for one woman, Emily Hobhouse, a British humanitarian who visited the camps in 1901. What she saw horrified her. She wrote, "I call this camp a nightmare of suffering, a crime against humanity." Her reports reached the British Parliament and caused public outrage. But by the time reforms were made, thousands were already dead. In 1902, the war ended with the signing of the Treaty of Vereeniging. The Boers surrendered, and South Africa fell under British rule. But when the survivors returned home, they found nothing. Their farms were gone, their families broken, and an entire generation of children lost forever. The British called it victory. But for South Africans, both white and black, it was a wound that would never truly heal. Today, few people remember these camps. They were the blueprint for future atrocities, from Nazi Germany to modern wars. Yet, they remain largely forgotten by the world. More than a century later, the graves still stand, silent reminders of a time when the British Empire showed the world that even civilization can turn cruel. This was not just a story of war. It was a story of survival, silence, and forgotten souls. This is the Untold World, where the past speaks, even when history tries to bury it. Subscribe for more.